So I wanted to do a Google Live Hangout for the book signing, but Google didn't want to hang out with me. So I'm doing this video, and hopefully I can get it out to everyone so that you can get your free signed copy of the book. But more important than that, I think there are some things about sales that I can share with you that I learned from 14 years of selling face to face, and also now that I'm a trainer where I train recruiters how to overcome their sales struggles. And I want to share that with everybody as much as I can because I think it's been hidden from a lot of people. So, again, my name is Cedric Cromley. I'm the author of the book Proven Sales and Recruiting Methods. The reason I wrote this book is Ted Perdramo, the author of Ultimate Guide to LinkedIn. We were talking, and he asked me, tell me your story. So I told him my story, which the story is I'm in a recruiting station, and I'm brand new to recruiting, and I'm nervous about selling, and I don't think I have the skills to sell, and I'm in this recruiting station by myself, and in walks a young lady, and the young lady, after she's sitting down with me for about 5 minutes, she gets up and just walks out the door, and I just stand there looking at the door like, what happened. And so later that night, I call this young lady and I follow up and I say, I'm new to recruiting and I'm trying to learn my job. You look like you wanted to join when you walked through the door. Can you tell me why you didn't join? Well, she responds and like she's angry. She says, I went to that office wanting to join the army, but after talking to you, I don't even want to join anymore. She said, you are terrible. You are awful. She said, you need a coach or something. And so, I'm feeling sorry for myself, and I tell her, you're right. I told these people I can't sell, and and I'm just feeling awful. And I remember sliding down the wall of my apartment and just sitting on the floor, thinking, what have I got myself into, and how can I get out of this? And when I told that story to Ted, he's laughing. He tells me, you need to write a book. And so I'm thinking, who wants to read a book from a army recruiter guy? And he said, no, you need to tell your story. I think a lot of people would want to know how you are able to get people to commit 4 years of their life when most people out there are just they're selling cars and refrigerators and iPads, and you're actually selling 4 years of service to people, and you're very good at it. So I wrote this book. Um, Now at the end of this video, I will tell you how to get a free copy of this book. But the best way that I can explain how I learned to sell is different than most other people. That in every field that I go to, the way that I learn is totally different than what I see the majority of salespeople doing. And the best way to explain it is through a story. Okay. Um, there's a mental hospital, right? And in this mental hospital, the only way to get out is you have to pass the test. Well, the test is this: they take you to a room, and in the room, there's a bathtub full of water. They give you a bucket, a cup, and a shot glass. And they tell you the only way that you can get out of this mental hospital is if you figure out how to empty the water from this bathtub, the fastest way possible. If you fail, you're not leaving this mental hospital until you can figure out how to get all the water out of this bathtub in the fastest way possible. And they're like, go. Okay? So what would you do to get the water out? What's the fastest way to get the water out of this bathtub? And that's the dilemma that I found myself in. That I was given all sorts of training, all sorts of tools, and I was told that I had a mission, and I was stuck. And I'm using all the tools, I'm using all the training, I'm using every single thing they taught me. I'm using all the tools. I'm going step by step, and I'm failing and failing and I'm failing. Well, how do you get let's imagine you're in this mental hospital. You're in this room. There's a bathtub full of water, and you got a bucket, a cup, and a shot glass. What's the fastest way to get the water out the bathtub? Well, the fastest way to get the water out the bathtub is to simply reach down and pull the plug and let all the water drain out. And so after a while of failing, I stopped one day and I started looking around. I'm thinking, what's the real deal here? What's the fastest way that I can get these people to join the army? And I figured it out. I mean, I just started thinking. I took a pad and in the book I explained what I did and I started noticing things. And so I ended up going and getting very successful at it. And I had a little system. Well, that same system can be used in any industry. And so I ended up getting really good. And fast forward a few years, once you get good at something, what do they normally do? Well, they normally want to put you in charge, right? So I'm put in charge of a recruiting station in center in Houston, Texas. And I'm given a recruiter to work for me. And the recruiter he quit before he even started working for me. So I'm I'm in charge of a recruiting center and I'm supposed to sell people to join the army. And I'm also responsible for running operations. Well, it's very hard to run operations and still go out there and pull people in, and at least enough people to meet the demands of a recruiting station. You can't do it yourself. But I was doing it myself, and I was failing at it. Well, and there's more to this story, which the book goes into more detail in the background. But one night, I pull up to a bank parking lot because I'm thinking there's got to be a better way, man. I mean, how can I get people to come see me instead of me having to go out in the streets to try to beg people to sit down with me? There's got to be a better way. And I turn on my laptop and I type in the search bar, in the Google search bar, and I type in advertise for free. Well, I ended up learning and finding out that you can advertise for free on the yellow pages and the white pages. So I list the recruiting station I was running on the yellow pages and the white pages. Then I go back to the search bar and I type in advertise for free and I continue to search. And something pops up that says list your business for free on Google. Now, this is in 2007. There wasn't a lot of people doing this at this time. And so I list the recruiting station on Google for free. And so a month goes by, and all of a sudden my phone is ringing, and I'm having these people call me, and I'm asking, well, how did you find me? And they said, well, I went on Google and I typed in Army Recruiter, and your recruiting station popped up. So I'm really interested in joining. So I ended up that started bringing people in, and I remember a young lady came inside my recruiting station, and she was from Michigan. I'm in Houston, Texas. And she comes inside my recruiting station, and I say, how can I help you? And she say, well, how can I join? And I ask her, how did you find us? And she said, well, I was in Michigan, and I had a job interview in Houston. And I've always been interested in the Army. So when I was in Michigan, I just typed in Houston Army Recruiting Station, and this recruiting station popped up. So that started getting us people, right? And I ended up leaving Houston in 2007, and I started recruiting physicians and medical students in Iowa. Did really good because I started applying what I learned. So I was in Iowa from 2007 to 2010. I ended up going back to Houston to recruit physicians, and I stopped in this recruiting station that I started, and somebody else is in charge, and I walk inside and I say, hey, how are you guys doing? He's like, man, we are rolling. We're one of the top recruiting stations in Houston. He told me we don't even go out to recruit. They just walk through the door. So that little system I set up back in 2007 was still running in 2010, right? That's what I learned. It is a whole lot easier to sail through a system than to try to do it the caveman way, right? I always look for the plug in the bathtub. What's the fastest way to get this water out this bathtub? That's what I always ask myself. And what I try to train recruiters on today is to take a sheet of paper and you write at the top of the sheet of paper the word "How can I?" and whatever problem you're trying to solve. Like one question I asked myself was, "How can I make more appointments today?" And I would list 1 through 20, and I would ask myself, "How can I make an appointment today?" And I would sit down and I would figure out 20 different ways that I can make an appointment today. Just thinking, right? And looking around at what other people are doing and what I can do that they're not doing because they're just average. I want to be number one. It's always better to be number one or number three in any industry or whatever you're doing. Um, so I ended up doing that. Now, lo and behold, my brother-in-law ends up asking me to join a business opportunity with him. And, he's my brother-in-law, so I said, okay. So, and it was selling electricity. Well, I ended up selling the electricity, but before I started, I asked myself, okay, well, what I did with that recruiting station back in 2007, would that work for this? Well, it did. I list this little, I don't know, business opportunity, but I wasn't trying to find what they call distributors. I was trying to find customers. I'm a salesman. I like customers. And so my phone is ringing off the hook, and all these people calling me, hey, are you selling electricity? And I said yes, and I'm just signing customers up left and right. Well, I do so well that the one of the higher guys in his organization calls me. He's like, Cedric, what are you doing? I said, man, this is great, man. I'm having fun. He's like, man, yeah, you're making a killing, man. What are you doing? He wants to know what I'm doing because I guess he wants to do it. Well, I tell him, and he tells me, well, you can't do that, man. We don't do that. That's not allowed. And I think this was around 2010. And so he said, that's not allowed. Well, I'm upset, and I said, well, I don't want to. I say to myself, well, they're not going to play the way that I play. I don't want to do it that way, and I quit. And fast forward about 2 more years, and I remember I'm looking at my light bill that morning, and I'm also hearing about um, there's a conference going on called uh, Titans of Direct Response, and I guess it was more than two years. And so I'm looking at, man, I need money to go to this thing because this event was $3,000, right? So I'm like, man, I gotta get $3,000 to go to this event. And so I didn't tell my wife that I was trying to think of ways to make money. And so my wife comes to me that morning. She's like, they're offering more money for that business opportunity that my brother's in, and why don't you join? Go start back doing it. And I said, no, I'm not doing it. I'm not with that, money stuff. They don't want to play the game the way I play. And she tells me, no, now they're allowing people to use online the way that you were using it, right? And so I'm like, no, still not interested. And she said, well, they also are offering free electricity. And that caught my attention because I was just, trying to figure out how I can lower my electricity bill, right? And so I jump back in and I do the same thing, get on Google, list the business for customers, and sure enough, my phone is ringing off the hook. I end up making the $3,000 I needed to attend this conference, and and that's one main thing. Whenever you're faced with something that you really want, if it's money, whatever it was, if something that you really want and you can't afford it, what I learned was don't say I can't afford that or I can't do that. Ask yourself, how can I do that? Okay, that's what I learned through all my failures is to ask yourself, how can I do that? And it'll come. The answer will come if you just ask yourself, how can I do that? All right. So that's the gist of it. Some people refer to it as 80/20. I like the I like the story of the mental hospital where you got the bucket, the cup, and the shot glass, and they're telling you you got to empty this bathtub full of water as fast as possible, and you just put a plug and all the water comes out. And you're looking for you got to think though. Most people would try to figure out how to use that bucket or maybe use the cup really fast. And I don't know, some people might try to use the shot glass to empty the thing. But if you sit down and think before you take any action with any of those tools, if you think, it'll probably eventually come to you, hey man, why don't I just pull the plug? Right? So that's the gist of it. This is the book, Proven Sales and Recruiting Methods. Now I'm gonna tell you how to get the book. All right. So if you don't mind, if you're on social media, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, any type of social media, if you wouldn't mind putting a link to this video and then hashtag bucket cup shot glass. And then if you post that on your social media, then what you do is you email me that and let me know that you posted it and where you posted it. And put it in the subject line of your email, book signing. Okay? The email that you're gonna send it to this email is said at saidcrumley.com. So that's said at saidcrumley.com. That's CED at CEDCRUMBLEY.com. So said at saidcrumley.com. Okay, I had to make sure I spell my own name right. Okay, so you're going to email that to me, and what you're going to include is in the subject line, just put book signing, and then you'll put your full name and your full mailing address, and I'll send you a free signed copy of the book. So, thanks for your time. I plan to make more videos because I think this is a great way that I can get this information to people's hands. I'm actually like a real salesman. I live it. I've been living it since 2001, and I still practice it, and I still study to get better at it. I'm just not a pro at technology. Thank you for your time. Bye bye.